At this time, I call the Neighborhood Jobs and Housing Committee to order, and I ask the clerk to call the roll. You all right?
Councilmember Patterson.
Here.
Councilmember Gruber. Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Vice President Harris.
Here.
President Melendez.
All right, so we have no presentation today for this committee, so we'll just get right to the work. Introductory number 290, authorizing the sale of real estate. Questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I need a motion in a second.
Move it.
Moved and seconded, and now we vote. All in favor of introductory number 290, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay. Introductory passes. Introductory number 291, authorizing agreement for the Asset Control Area Program. Questions, comments, or concerns? Oh, yes.
Yes. What is the actual income eligibility dollar amount?
We can provide that to you in writing, Councilmember.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Seeing no other questions, comments, or concerns, I need a motion in a second.
Move it.
Moved and seconded, and now we vote. All in favor of introductory number 291, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Introductory passes. Introductory number 292, authorizing a license agreement for the Linear Garden. Questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I need a motion in a second.
I have a comment.
Well, remember, those probably aren't working right. Might coming down to you.
There we go. I just wanted to say on the record, thank you so much. The neighborhood been asking this for a while, and very grateful.
Okay. No other comments or questions. I need a motion in a second.
Second.
Moved and seconded, and now we vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Introductory passes. Introductory number 293, appropriating funds and authorizing agreements for the home buyer training program. Questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, need a motion in a second.
Move it.
Moved and seconded, and now we vote. All in favor of introductory number 293, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Please say nay. Introductory passes. Introductory number 327, amending the zoning map by changing the zoning classification of 25 Louise Street. Public hearing to be held on Thursday, August 21st, 2025 at 6 p.m. Questions, comments, or concerns?
Yes, I went onto the website to try and find documentation on the amendment process and could not find any. Can we get that process in writing?
Yes, Councilmember, we'd be happy to provide that to you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns?
Move it.
Need a motion in a
Second.
second? Moved and seconded, and now we vote. All in favor of introduction number 327, please say aye.
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 Aye. Before we close, Councilmember Gruber, would you like to record votes on introduction? Would you like to record a vote on introductory number 290, authorizing the sale of real estate?
I would, yes. My mic's not working.
Yeah, the mics aren't working.
Yes.
Okay.
That one.
291,
Yes.
introductory number 292,
Yes, sir.
introductory number 293,
Yes, sir.
and I think we're here for 327. So we're good, and with there being no other issues before this committee, we now stand adjourned.
What do you mean? No. And it just blew out? That's got to be what it is. There's got to be something with it when they installed. If they just put a new power supply and then it blew out, something we got to. Yeah, but we're going to have to do something to get through because we can't. It'll take however long to get a new system. I heard something. About it. Is that on or off?
Good afternoon. At this time, I'd like to call the People, Parks, and Public Works Committee to order and ask clerk to call the roll.
Vice President Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Lightfoot. Councilmember Lupien.
Here.
Councilmember Patterson.
Here.
President Melendez.
Here.
Thank you.
And I'd like to, for the record, to note that we're joined by Councilmember Gruber, Councilmember Martin, Councilmember Monroe, and I believe Councilmember Smith, right? Yeah. So, good afternoon. We have one presentation scheduled for the month of the PPPW Committee. I would like to welcome our very own Tremaine Harris, Youth Leadership Coordinator, and members of Youth Policy Task Force, who will present their findings and recommendations of the task force through the citywide engagement. This presentation runs parallel to introductory number 309, which will be brought forth during today's committee meeting for our consideration. Mr. Harris, I would ask that you approach the podium and please speak clearly to the microphone and begin your presentation.
Good evening. Thank you for listening to our youth today. I won't be doing the talking. So Hazel, who's the chair of chair of the Youth Policy Task Force, and Sarah, who is the co-chair of the Youth Policy Task Force, will be presenting the resolution for you today.
Hi, my name is Sarah Zinkin, and I'm the co-chair of the Youth Policy Task Force. I'm a junior at Brighton High School.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Hazel Roberts. I'm now Joseph C. Wilson Magnet High School alumna, and I'll be attending Hampton University, and I'm 18, and I am the former president of the RCSD Student Leadership Congress and the chair of this initiative. So let's get into it, shall we? It's important to note that Rochester was one of 3 major cities chosen, along with Omaha, Nebraska, and Dallas, Texas, to participate in this inaugural nationwide initiative. It was youth-led to create a policy dedicated and targeted towards the youth to emphasize and really target strong community collaboration.
So we had many objectives with this policy, but it was made in partnership with NCL, as YPTF, the Youth Policy Task Force, is developing a comprehensive citywide youth policy that's mainly focused on the needs and priorities of Rochester's youth in particular. So we established a 20-member youth policy task force reflecting Rochester's diverse population, and we conducted ongoing community outreach and identified youth's priorities. So we equipped youth with the tools and knowledge they needed to advocate for themselves for meaningful public policy change, and created youth-led approval systems that were aimed to evaluate policies affecting young people. We established a consistent youth presence in the city, and we helped inform them on the decision-making process. So we have many staff members, and some of whom are going to share if they are here. But we had some members as well, such as Tremaine Harris, Heaven Vega, and Vision Smith. And then the members of the Youth Policy Task Force that are here, if you would want to introduce yourself, that would be great. So the ones that are here today are Kalia Holloway, Jacoby Hartzog, Axel, Miles Moses, Kira Dokovich, and that's it.
Thank you. We would also like to give a special thanks for their time Miguel A. Melendez Jr., City Council President, Lachey D. Harris, City Council Vice President, Mitch Goober, City Council Member at Large, and Jen Bitterman, City Council Deputy Chief of Staff. Thank you for your time and coming to talk with us and spending time with the youth, and you made our voices feel heard. We would also like to give an additional thank you and gratitude to Dr. Leslie C. Myers-Small, Executive Director of the Rochester Police Accountability Board, Ricky Fraser, Monroe County Legislator, and Damon Meeks, New York State Assembly Member, District 137. We would also like to highlight our supporting organizations, our friends and supporters, starting with the Department of Recreation and Human Services, the City of Rochester, Rochester Monroe County Youth Bureau, Youth Senate, Rochester City School District, RCSD, Leadership Congress, National Civic League, Teen Empowerment, Rock the Future Alliance. Thank you so much for your support.
So we had several town hall locations where we conducted our research on what we wanted to create our policy about and what the youth felt was the most prevalent topic. So these were conducted at four locations. So at our first town hall, the youth felt that their voice was the most important thing, as well as creating more positive places for youth to as they would say, hang out and to really just interact with each other. And another big topic they felt was very prevalent was drug abuse. At our second town hall, we saw that there were a lot of cause and effect relationships. The youth wanted more local events, as well as they wanted to increase safe spaces where they could once again interact with each other. At our third town hall location, we found that the youth wanted more local events for the city of Rochester, and they found that they wanted more positive role models opposed to the negative role models and trends that they're seeing in their communities. And they wanted to also decrease the gun violence which they are seeing in their community. At the fourth town hall location, the youth wanted to learn new things. They wanted to be more involved with their community, and they wanted more after-school programs where they could interact with each other and have, once again, another safe space to interact. And then we also found that the youth saw that their peers were doing drugs and smoking, which they wanted to decrease and almost put an end to.
But the main things across all four town halls, recurring themes was safety, health and wellness, education, community resources, voice and reputation, which is very important, poverty, and equality. And I say that to say this led us to splitting up into 4 different groups of our youth policy members, targeting the topics that they felt the most or compelled to talk about, which led to our youth summit, which we had at East. Each of the 4 groups presented, and they really, how do you say? I want to say they put their heart and soul into these presentations. You really got to feel how all the emotion behind all the work, from hearing the younger kids to the older kids really talk about our community and what we can do to make it better. The first topic was gun violence and safety. As you can see in the picture, the policy members printed out their work and put it on poster boards, so kindergarten, elementary of us. And this policy was youth-led initiative to address gun violence through local policy discussions and civil engagement, collaborations with local government and law enforcement to promote safer communities, and community forums and listening sessions on neighborhood safety.
The next topic was alcohol addiction, and we have a picture of the board that was presented with the presentation. And so this mainly targeted physical differences, law and policy, the main causes for youth to do things. So this was focused on increasing youth-driven campaigns and raising awareness about alcohol use and its impacts, policy recommendations to limit youth access to alcohol and to prevent and increase prevention programs, and peer education programs promoting healthy choices.
Another group talked about substance abuse, culture, government impact, social economics, and parental peace, development of education programs targeting substance misuse led by youth voices, contribution to local strategies focused on reducing drug use among teens, advocacy for funding and access to mental health and recovery resources.
Next, we discussed poverty, and we discussed policies around the prevention the provision of youth poverty and substance abuse. So youth recommendations on poverty-related policies, including education, housing, and food insecurity, partnerships with partnerships with city departments to address systemic barriers, and employment readiness and workshops, as well as advocacy for increased youth job opportunities.
Our resolution. Our policy resolution focused on 3 topics: poverty, homelessness, and substance abuse. A resolution affirming the city's commitment to address poverty, homelessness, and substance abuse as prioritized by the Youth Policy Task Force through citywide engagement. Section 1, youth-led priorities for action. Section 2, youth access to training, support, and resources. Section 3, substance use, awareness, building. Section 4, trauma-informed training and crisis intervention support. Section 5, prevention and restorative justice. And Section 6, accountability and implementation. As we finish, or as I say all that to say this again, that even though I'm a senior that just graduated and I'm moving on to the next level, the work that this task force has done over 6 months, give or take, is extremely important and fundamental to the youth in our community. The funding and support of you guys is extremely important, and I hope when I come back and visit, maybe not December, but in the spring, we'll have more policies so I can come attend the next meeting.
This work is truly important, and it would be very beneficial if you all could allow us to continue this. Thank you so much. Are there any questions?
I just have a comment. Just want to say thank you guys for giving us your voice and your vision for our city. My charge to you is continue the work and pass the torch.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
President Melendez.
Yes, thank you, Vice President. I want to echo that. We had the opportunity to just sit and watch, right? We weren't contributors in that meeting. We got to see the show before the show, if you will. And I was just impressed by everyone's, first of all, collaboration amongst each other, but then also that you were thinking about how to engage more people, how to bring more young people's voice to the table, how to make sure that whatever you're doing as representatives is reflective of the bigger, wider community here in Rochester. And it was just exciting to see you all put in that work and then to see the outcome now. I'm excited to see where we can take this and how we can continue to support you all. So appreciate your work. It will not go in vain. We will be committed to supporting you and the task force. And I think you also need to call on us when we're not doing that, right? So make sure that you hold us accountable as your elected leaders in this community to ensure that if you put some recommendations in front of us, that we also are put the task to get to work on them. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll call on Councilman McGruber.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation and for letting me come spend time with you all this year. Big kudos to the work and big kudos to Tremaine for leading the charge on this. I do want to ask a question. One of my favorite parts about these types of initiatives is the opportunity to learn from others. So was there engagement with the Omaha group and the Dallas group? Have you guys been able to compare notes? Will you be able to talk to them at all about what kind of work they did?
Great question. We'll get back to you on that one.
Wow, you're a seasoned vet. Thank you. Appreciate it.
That's awesome. She'll fit right in with the administration, right? Councilmember Lupien.
To echo all the comments, I think that this is an amazing effort, and the information that you've provided, I think, is going to be really helpful to inform our work. And similar to what President Melendez said, it is going to be important to hold us accountable and as a suggestion to think about how to track our progress. You know, whether that's a metric, whether you come back to us quarterly and show us, you know, how well we've been meeting and urge us along.
Thank you.
Councilmember Martin.
Yeah, following up on that accountability mechanism. In your discussion and putting forth this resolution, was there discussion around what happens after council may say yes to this, but then there's not that follow through and implementation? How do the youth hold the elected officials accountable?
make sure that we continue to be involved in discussions with you all, and just kind of move the process forward. But yeah, we believe that hopefully you guys will continue to work with us, so we haven't really talked about it if you did not.
Thank you, and this is really incredible, and I appreciate all the work you all did to make this happen.
Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments? Councilmember Smith?
Question is, were there specific examples of the after-school programs that the youth wanted to see? That's the first question.
Thank you for your first question. On our chart pieces of paper, we still have them at the office. We did a lot of brainstorming at each town hall. Due to we having more intimate groups, we were able to uncover a lot more information.
Great. So you have that documented.
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. The next question is attendance from youth around the city. How was the attendance at these town halls, and what type of outreach did you do to drive that attendance?
So we have all the documents saved on files, and it does have the attendance from each of the 4 meetings, which we can absolutely send to you. However, we advertised through peer engagement groups. Many of us put up flyers around our schools, things like that. And it was, as it was a peer-led program, we thought that it should be peer advertised as well.
And to add on to what Sarah said, I was able to do a WDKX interview that was playing a couple times to really get the word out, especially for the Pamela.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much again for your presentation. And we look forward to the next time you guys come back around.
Thank you so much.
That will conclude. That will conclude the presentation portion of this committee meeting. Now we will proceed with the legislation. Introductory number 294, a bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $200,000 bonds of said city to finance Genesee Valley Park Fitness Court. Any questions, comments, or concern? Councilmember Gruber, do you have comments or concerns, questions for this? Okay. All in favor?
Second.
I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
In the motion carries. Introductory number 295, appropriating state transportation plan, capital project funds, and amending the 2025-26 budget to fund road rehabilitation and reconstruction projects. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Councilmember Gruber.
We have to use the mic just to.
Oh, yes.
No, the state's amounts weren't available at the time that we prepared the proposed budget.
Actually, can we have him repeat his question so that people can hear?
Thanks. I had just asked if there was a formula error, and that's what's leading to these additional dollars.
No, because the state budget was approved so late in the process, we used what we thought was going to be the final amount in the proposed budget, and this is the final that we received from New York State.
So we received more than we anticipated.
Correct.
And how? Thank you. Thanks everyone for sharing all your microphones with me. How will we determine which projects to use these dollars on?
I will leave that with DES.
So we've done. Can you hear me? Yeah. We've identified a couple of projects already, and I'll have Holly speak to them.
So the additional funding will be used to supplement a variety of road rehab and reconstruction projects that include, but are not limited to, our Culver and University PM project that's now underway, East Main and South Plymouth projects, and Park Ave and St. Paul.
Thank you. So just for clarity, we're not adding any new projects. We are using these dollars to finalize projects that were not fully funded.
That's correct. Often these projects during construction have overruns and unforeseen conditions, and so this is a great resource for that.
Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments? I need a motion, a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Introductory number 296, authorizing an alteration of pavement width relating to the 2024 milling and resurfacing project. A public hearing to be held on Thursday, August 21st, 2025 at 6 p.m. Questions, comments, concerns? I need a motion and a second.
Move it. Yep.
Councilmember Patterson.
Quick question. So, on a fair number of these projects, we're starting to see the large concrete structures for protection for bicycle lanes. Not opposed to them, but are those permanent structures? Are they planned to be there year round, or will you be removing them in the winter for plowing?
In some locations, they are permanent. In other areas, we're doing pilot projects to see how they hold up, and they are on more of a temporary basis.
And so, since it'll be winter in minutes, unfortunately, as hot as it is outside today, so how are you planning on plowing those bicycle lanes where these large concrete structures are now inhabited?
So we do design and work with operations with the ability to be sure that they can plow. So we space those things accordingly. We also put up delineators so that plows can see where the curbed islands are.
Okay, so maybe I wasn't clear with the question. So I'm talking about the space between, so the bicycle lane that is now protected by this large concrete structure, how are you planning on plowing that bicycle lane if that structure is going to be there year round?
So we're not a one-size-fits-all, and we are trying different equipment to fit into those spaces.
Okay.
To make sure that we can take care of it.
Okay, and so
this will be a pilot, and it's a trial to make sure that we can take care of what we have to do.
okay, because I'm not going to lie to you folks. You know, lifelong Rochester resident, especially when I drive down West Main now, you know, it feels a little tight between Canal Street and Jefferson Avenue. Am I the only one feeling that way when you drive through there? You know, it feels a little tight. And, you know, as you're going through there, you're looking at it going, and it's going to snow in a minute. And now what happens? And so that's kind of my concern as we're doing this. You know, I hate to be the grumpy old man on council, but since I am the grumpy old man on council, I really would like to hear what this plan is, you know, and I get it. You'll get me answers in writing. But I really would like to hear the plan for what winter looks like with these things in place, or what the plan is for removing them in the winter, and you know, what are y'all planning on doing? Because it looks like some of them have been sited in such a way that you could get a piece of equipment in there and get them lifted and get them out, because you had to place them. I really would like to hear more about that going forward.
I'd like to add to Councilmember Patterson, and I'll go to President Melendez and Councilmember Gruber. In our committee meeting, we had some discussion about this, as well as the fact that emergency medical services, as well as the fire services, you know, the width of the street, I was concerned about how narrow it was and getting apparatus through, especially when people have to pull to the right by law. And then there's not a lot of room to pull to the right and then have apparatus come through. In the winter months, that's going to be a challenge. And then that's why I asked, and I don't see it captured here in our responses. I asked that we get a letter from the emergency services that represents the city that they have no issues with that. And can I ask the administration what's the status of that letter, or are we going to get that? Thank you. President Melendez?
Yes, thank you, Vice President. I was going to raise the same point, so I won't belabor it too much, but my main concern is not necessarily the design and how things are. I think it's just that emergency medical component, fire component, and if there is an emergency and traffic gets backed up there for some reason, or people can't pull over, what happens to the emergency response in that case? But I think we'll get some of those answered through this letter and in writing, but I do think we have to balance the need for all users on the road with also the practicality of some of these situations where we obviously know snow removal and and the narrowing of the street could impact medical response and fire response. So that's my only concern. Thank you.
Councilmember Gruber?
Thanks. I would just share, probably some of my colleagues have seen the grant program on West Main as part of the Rochester revitalization program, whatever those state dollars are. And so there's a group that's having these walks every Monday night in the Susan B. Anthony neighborhood on West Main, and I've joined a couple of them. And every single business owner, every single neighbor walking has said they've seen speeds slow down dramatically and they feel a ton safer, including folks who have businesses on West Main who just used to see cars regularly go by at 60 miles an hour, and just it's not possible to do that anymore. That's the point of a road diet. So I recognize that we need to have clarity about emergency vehicles, but I'm so happy to see that we are creating a situation where people just have to drive safer on West Main Street. I would ask the administration, I really like the way the temporary bike lanes work, but I've heard this talked about as a pilot over and over again. It'd be good to know, to understand as council, what is the pilot? Like, how many things are you trying? How long are you trying it for? When are you going to know if it's going to work or not? Like, a pilot obviously means something to DES that we don't have clarity on yet, and I think getting some information around that would probably be helpful for all of us.
Thank you. We'll provide a more substantive response to council in writing. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me just get back to, I need a motion and a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Introductory number 297, authorizing alteration of pavement width and street configurations, granting a permanent sewer easement, and authorizing acquisition land parcels for the Bull's Head revitalization project. A public hearing to be held on Thursday, August 21st, 2025 at 6 p.m. Any questions or comments or concerns? Need a motion and second?
Just a comment.
Councilmember Patterson.
This is quite ambitious. We've got streets going away, we got streets moving, just to the community out there. Brown Street will not look the same. It will not be the same thing that you are familiar with by any stretch of the imagination. And that's not a bad thing. But it's kind of interesting that Kensington Street is going away. So, wow, good work.
Any additional comments?
Move it.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. Introductory number 297. I apologize. Let me go to the next one. I'm sorry. Introductory 298, a bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $378,000 bonds of said city to finance the cost of City Hall cooling tower replacement and HVAC system assessment. Any questions, comments, concerns? I need a second. Need a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Introductory number 299, authorizing professional services agreement for William A. Johnson Jr. Terminal Building at the Port of Rochester Roof Replacement Phase 3 project. Any questions?
Question.
Councilmember Melendez, President.
Yes. Being that this is phase 3 of the roof replacement, is this the final phase of the project?
There are additional phases, phase 4 and phase 5, that are shown in an attachment that we have supplied.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Okay, thank you.
Need a motion and a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Introductory number 300, a bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $566,000 of bonds of said city to finance the cost of the public safety building elevator modernization. Any questions, comments, concerns? Need a motion and second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Introductory number 301, authorizing a mandatory agreement related to the R Center renovations conjunction with the Rochester City School District. Any questions, comments, concerns? I need a motion and a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Introductory number 302, a bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $175,000 bonds of said city to finance the cost of the Rundell Memorial Library exterior building envelope repairs. The disclosure, Councilmember Gruber is the City Council liaison to the Library Board. He is required to disclose only and may participate in the discussion and the vote. Any questions, comments, concerns? Councilmember Lupien.
Yeah, this I would imagine you'd need to follow up with me about. I know that the ARPA funding was allocated in 2022. I'm just wondering what the justification is for not bonding for this project when the 87 million or $8.7 million in ARPA funding is more flexible and could have been used to more directly impact residents. So if you can get that to me in writing, thank you.
Any additional comments? Need a motion and a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Introductory number 303, a bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $100,000 bonds of said city to finance the cost of subsurface investigation and interim remedial measures of environmental contamination present at the 584 Smith Street. Questions, comments, concerns? Councilmember Smith, Councilmember, Martin, I'm sorry.
Thank you. My question is primarily out of curiosity. It says the site was acquired in '93. Why is the remedial investigation happening now? Is there an intention to use the site for something else?
Yes, thank you. So the parcel was acquired in tax foreclosure in 1993, and I believe it was basically just sitting vacant. There was interest in the parcel as part of a Stadium Estates housing development in, I think, 2017, 2018. And at that point, it was discovered by the developer that there was past activity on the site that made the parcel not suitable for development. So at that time was when we came in and started doing some of the environmental investigation to determine the extent and the levels of contamination at the site. So this work will further delineate the quantities of contamination, including heavy metals and potentially chlorinated solvents at the site, and perform some interim remedial measures to mitigate those issues.
Thank you. And so once mediated, depending on what you find, the goal would be to redevelop on the land.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilmember Monroe.
At this point, do we have a notion of what we would like that to be redeveloped as?
So in the past, there was an interest for housing, and it is in a residential neighborhood. So I would think that it would probably be residential.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? Need a motion and a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Introductory number 304, authorizing application for an appropriation of grant funds for the Hemlock Filtration Plant Filter Bed Rehabilitation Project. Questions, comments, concerns? Need a motion and a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Introductory number 305, a bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $2,250,000 bonds of said city to finance portion of the cost of the Hemlock Filtration Plant Filter Bed Rehabilitation Project. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Need a motion second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Introductory number 306, authorizing an agreement and budget amendment related to the New York State Office of Mental Health Senate Majority Initiative Grant. Any questions, comments, concerns? Councilmember Lupien.
I think this is great, and I'm looking forward to the tour that looks like we're going to get a chance to go on. My question is not quite related to this, but it's tangential. The new Hope First Rock, which is non-police crisis response that's set to launch in the fall. I wanted to know how that would work in terms of 911 dispatch and, with the PIC team, and how that fits into the ecosystem.
So
We don't know is the short answer. The longer answer is we're going to meet with them in the coming weeks.
Was this a how long have you all been coordinating with them?
Not.
Okay.
Yeah, we found out for the press release.
Okay, got it. Yep. So, have they been meeting with 911? ECD? No? Okay.
Any additional questions? Need a motion and a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Introductory number 307, authorizing agreement amending the 2025-26 budget relating to the Victims of Crime Act Victim and Witness Assistance Grant Program. Questions, comments, concerns? I need a motion and a second. Councilmember Lupien.
For the victim services, how does that, when a crime occurs and there is a victim who's been harmed, how do they receive information?
Yeah, a couple of different ways. So first, they receive the information for the team at the scene. So when officers give them the brochure about the team, and they get it that way. And then additionally, this team gets information from the police department about all the victims, and we reach out to them individually to offer our services as well.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? I need a motion and a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Introductory number 308, authorizing a mandatory agreement with R&R Street Grill LLC. Questions, comments, concerns? I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Introductory number 309, a resolution affirming the city's commitment to address poverty, homelessness, and substance abuse as prioritized as a youth policy task force through the citywide engagement. I need a motion and a second. Oh, I'm sorry. Councilmember, President Miguel Melendez.
Yes, thank you. I have a question in practice to the administration. So obviously this came out of the Department of Recreation and Human Services. A lot of work went into it, but it touches on so many different departments. I mean, I look at what's in the resolution. I see internal to the city. I see external. I see county. I see state. I see code enforcement. I see, it's just almost every department of the city is reflected in some way in the resolution. And it doesn't have to be now on the spot, but in writing, could you give us a sense of what is the plan following the passage of this resolution to ensure that it gets implemented across departments and that there's additional advocacy external to the city to other bodies of government? Thank you.
Any additional comments, questions? Need a motion and a second?
Move it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Introductory number 310, authorizing a mandatory agreement for the Peacemaker Fellowship Program. Any questions, comments, concerns? I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
All in favor? Motion carries. Introductory number 311, authorizing New York Bricks Program Unplug and Play Initiative Grant Application Agreement for the Roxy Sinclair Art Center renovation. Questions, comments, concerns? Councilmember Monroe.
So how was this particular project selected for the BRICS grant application?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that
Sure.
question?
How was this project selected for the BRICS grant application?
So there were some requirements in terms of dollar amount and what we could use the funds for. And so we looked at what we had prioritized within the department in terms of capital improvement projects that would meet the qualifications for this particular grant. And Roxy was the one that came out. We have been in discussion about a dance studio within that facility. And that was the project that met the guidelines for what we could apply for in this grant.
So as you know, I have a lot of concerns with the lack of recreation and senior resources in the Northwest. I know the grant did have the ability for municipalities to request up to $15 million. So I'm wondering, I guess I continue to express my deep concern that we don't have those services in the Northwest whatsoever once you go past Edgerton. And as you know, Edgerton renovation has been pushed out of the CIP altogether, which is a 5-year planning document. I'm also wondering where we are with making agreements with the school district that we will be able to use School 7, other schools in the Northwest for after school, and then getting agreements together for next year to be able to have services, say, at the old Charlotte High School and their field house.
So we have had conversations with the city school district about using facilities. This summer, we're actually partnering with the school district at School 7 on Fridays. We tried to work with them for several days, but we were able to at least work with them on Fridays. We are in conversation with the principal at School 42 about what additional supports and services we can provide to them. And so, as you know, the district has changes quite often, and it does matter if we can partner with the principal versus trying to say, as a district, we're asking you to do this. So we continue to reach out to our partners across the street to do programming, and we do recognize your concern about the Northwest, and we continuously talk about what we can do. In addition, you know that we will be opening the Nature Center in the spring of 2026, which will help us in the Northwest.
And I am very excited about the Nature Center, but it seems that the way it's set up as far as access into the building, a lot of this is really created around the idea of other schools being able to come in and have kids enjoy it in that section. I mean, obviously we'll have the playground, but I haven't been shown anything that indicates to me that we will have a constant presence for children to be able to access that site and in a monitored fashion, an adult-led fashion.
So we are in conversations about having after school. You know, we have after school in the park at Cobb's Hill. We're looking at expanding that to the Nature Center to have an after school program there, and we will also have summer camps at that location.
Great. And just to, when you're talking about School 7, you're saying that Fridays now are being used?
Yes, so they had a summer program over there, and we worked with them, and we wanted to partner with them. So we are going over there every Friday with our Rec on the Move team, working in collaboration with the district for their summer school program.
And then obviously still in talks for something during the year, the school year?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions or comments? Need a motion and a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Introductory number 313, authorizing a grant application, grant agreement, appropriation of grant funds for Joseph A. Floriano Rochester Riverside Convention Center Modernization Project for introductory number 313 and 329. President Melendez, since on the board of the Rochester Riverside Convention Center as council president, he is required to disclose only and may participate in the discussion and vote. Questions, comments, or concerns? Councilmember Lupien.
I am going to be a no vote on this. I continue to assert that investing in the convention center is not improving the lives of the residents of the city. Even though this money is coming from ESD, I would rather go to other projects that could improve lives of our residents.
Councilmember Patterson.
Just for clarification, this is a grant,
Yes.
and for the record, what is the sum total of the grant?
North of 59 million.
So we're getting $59 million from the state of New York to repair our convention center. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Lupien.
I know it's hard to pay attention halfway through my sentence when I was very clear that this money could be used by other projects to benefit the residents of our city other than the convention center, which is why I don't want us to apply for the money for $59 million to support that project. Thank you.
Councilmember President Melendez.
Yes, thank you. I will be voting in favor of this. The convention center, I think there's often a misnomer that it doesn't have an impact directly on residents. I mean, there are a lot of people who are indeed employed by the convention center. I think there's a lot of organizations in the community that get support from and benefit from the convention center. I understand though that there's a lot of competing interests, and certainly when you look at the price tag of $59 million, it's a lot of money. But the convention center really hasn't had a significant investment since it was founded and built, and at least in this way. So this is really going to modernize and create an opportunity for us to expand more convention business here locally, which does have an impact on our center city, does have an impact on our businesses that are downtown, and hopefully it will attract more businesses to Main Street. So I'm excited to support it. I do understand that there's a lot of ways you can invest money, but I do think the convention center is a deserving entity and an opportunity for us to really expand Rochester's business footprint, not just regionally, but across the state. And as we look at some of the national conventions that do happen in other places, they are economic boons for those communities. And I'm hopeful that this investment in the convention center will provide us with some rejuvenation of that section of St. Paul Street, Main Street, coupled with the work that we're doing around our Main Street grants, both on the West Main corridor, but then also, if you remember, we appropriated funds in the amount of about $2 million between North Clinton and Broad Street. So there's a lot happening, a lot of potential for economic development center city that I'm excited to support.
I'd like to add that this economic impact of the convention center, I mean, we filling the drain during COVID-19, there was a downswing of the traffic, and, we lost the hotel for a while. So, we have to invest back into our center city, and it's better to invest with grant dollars than using our capital funds for this project. Councilmember Patterson?
Did we not recently receive funding from the state of New York to rehab the hotel that is across the street from the convention center, with the understanding that there would be additional dollars coming in from the state to support that investment? Anyone in the administration?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure.
Sorry, I was distracted.
So there's a hotel across the street from the convention center that's largely empty, and I do believe that we've recently received funding from the state to rehab that, with the understanding that that would be to support the convention center. Is that correct?
The developer has received that funding, yeah.
Sorry, the developer did,
Yep.
but that funding has happened, right?
Yes, those agreements are signed.
Okay, so this is a continuation of this continued investment that we are making along the riverway. Is that correct?
Certainly related.
And so our responsibility, if we are a responsible entity, is to take the money that the state of New York is going to give us to make these repairs, as opposed to leaving that burden upon the taxpayers of the city of Rochester. Is that correct?
If we did not accept that grant, we would need to find other funding sources to allow those repairs to take place.
Thank you.
Okay. This is going to be the final round, and we've got to get going on with the business. Councilmember Lupian.
It's very clear, I've struck a nerve. There's a lot of people that are very defensive of the convention center and the economic development strategy of investing in these downtown infrastructure, with the idea that if we attract people to Rochester, it will save our city. Meanwhile, the mayor has swept probably 15 encampments, and people don't have homes. And this money could be used to fill the gap of 30 to 50% of AMI units that we need for this city. So in this context, I don't see everyone saying the economic development, it'll do this, it'll do that. I have not seen the return on investment. And in fact, the data shows the opposite. So I'm going to continue to reiterate my position, even though y'all disagree. That's okay.
I'm going to close with this. That'll be the last.
Sorry, my hand is raised, and I haven't had a chance to ask any questions on this topic.
All right, Councilmember Martin, after that, then I will go, and I will be the last.
Thank you, Vice President. In writing, could you provide the wages workers make at the convention center, trying to understand the economic impact as it relates to how folks are paid who work there? Maybe a breakdown from senior leadership all the way down to the folks who serve food or do the janitorial services. Secondly, if you could provide the requirements of the grant application, like what is the description, what is the grant asking for? I'm curious about the actual grant that was applied for and what projects could have been applied for specifically under that grant. And finally, Councilmember Lupien, I completely agree with where you're coming from, and I would love to see these kinds of investments additionally made to housing and other projects our community consistently raises as a priority.
Thank you. So to the administration, can you just provide on record, if it's possible, some of the details of the grant requirements? Is this a state grant that has specific requirements that's related to this type of project?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that, but in writing. I want to
Okay.
make sure that we get it right.
Yes, and if you could just put in writing that, outline that and what this grant will, what we cannot do with the grant as well.
Fair enough. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. I need a motion in a second. All in favor?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Introductory, that was a nay? Okay, well, roll call vote.
Vice President Harris,
Yes.
Councilmember Lightfoot, Councilmember Lupien,
No.
Councilmember Patterson, President Melendez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Introductory 314, appropriating funds and authorizing an agreement with Finger Lakes Health Systems Agency, DBA, Common Ground Health for age-friendly cities planning. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Need a
Second.
second? All in favor?
I have a question.
President Melendez.
This is President Martin. Councilmember Martin, sorry.
Thank you so much. Within the Monroe County Aging Alliance, are you aware of the involvement of any organizations that primarily provide services to the deaf community, the seniors within the deaf community?
Councilmember Martin, that over here.
Oh.
Hi. So we can certainly reach out to the Aging Alliance and get an answer to your question.
Sounds good. And I think a priority for me within this survey would be doing outreach to the deaf community. I recently learned a lot about how there aren't really a lot of services for deaf folks who are aging, and a lot of the programs are primarily for folks who are not deaf, so that does have an extra impact as it relates to isolation and access to care. So I'd really be interested in doing some outreach in that population and seeing what gaps exist and how we can work with the county and the nonprofit sector to meet some of those needs.
Any additional questions, comments? I need a motion in a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Introductory 315, amending the 2025-26 budget and authorizing agreements for parks maintenance pilot programs. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Move it.
I need a motion in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Introductory number 316, a resolution endorsing an application for the State Environmental Protection Fund's parks grants for the deployment of a climate resilient playground on grounds of Asbury Day Care Center. Any questions, comments, concerns? Councilmember Martin.
Yes, I think this would be directed to law as it's procedural. What was the reasoning behind this not being a resolution introduced this way versus a memorializing resolution, since it's essentially supporting an entity that's not related to city business?
Councilmember Gruber would like to address that.
Yeah, so for this particular resolution, it is a requirement through the New York State Office of Parks and Preservation to actually have municipalities provide an actual resolution and endorsement of a project. And so it is statutory requirement under state law for it. So that is why it wasn't sent as a memorializing resolution. That was the same question we had, and the state came back to us with that answer.
Thank you so much. Yeah, fully support it. Just was curious about that piece.
Any additional comments, questions? Need a motion and a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Introductory number 329, a bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $1,055,000 bonds to said city to finance the cost of Joseph A. Floriano Rochester Riverside Convention Center chiller rehabilitation. Please note the previously mentioned President Melendez sits on the board of Rochester Riverside Convention Center as council president. He may disclose only and also may participate in the discussion and vote. Any questions, comments, or concerns? I need a motion and a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. And with no further business, the People, Parks, and Public Works Committee stands adjourned.
Councilmember Vice President Harris, really quickly, I just want to thank the administration and communications, Nate from communications, for helping us figure out the mic situation today. Don't want to have that go unnoticed, so thank you very much to the administration.
Yes, I agree. Thank you. And we close.